Welcome to Tech Talk. We're going to be covering squats, and I think squat patterns and squat movements is widely used by majority people, mainly more women than men, but fundamentally probably one of the most important movement patterns to cover.
100%. And remember, when we say squat patterns, we don't just mean a squat as in a barbell squat. We mean a knee dominant movement, bilateral movement. So we're talking about leg press, so one that a lot of people don't think of. The leg press is a squat pattern. Most people say, oh, you shouldn't leg press the squat. Well, leg press, turn it around, it kind of looks like a squat pattern because it is.
I mean, I use the leg press to do split squats on it. Single leg press is a split squat.
100%.
In terms of squat, there is so many varieties out there, and the great thing is you can use the squat movement for hypertrophy, you can use it for strength, you can use it for power. It fits in so many categories.
100%.
Like for one, I love Zercher squats for strength training because it targets my core in ways that I don't necessarily get right with other core movements.
Like a Zercher is great for like positional work. Obviously Zercher split squat again, looking at when we talk about using variations for specific purposes, is a Zercher squat going to get the most out of your legs? No, because the limiting factor is how you're loading it. But in terms of the demand on your erectors for maintaining position, fantastic. I think Zercher's is a decent workaround. Again, still has a limit to how much you can load it relative to front squats, but a decent workaround for front squats or someone that battles with the mobility side, or even if using straps doesn't feel like that's quite as stable and safe. In terms of giving your upper body a similar demand and challenge to help you from a position point of view and get a little bit more quad focus, Zercher is a fantastic option.
So what is your favorite squat variation?
It's a tough one. I'm actually just a fan of normal barbell back squat. That is obviously my favorite, but then it also comes down to, again, what am I trying to do? Purpose. So if I'm wanting to, let's say, from a strength point of view, back squat is my favorite. And then even in back squat, we can talk about the variations there. So if I'm wanting to move the most amount of weight, I use a squat that is generally a little bit of a wider stance and a very hip dominant movement. So hips move, for the focus on the hips moving back and shifting back and loading that hip structure as much as possible, because hips versus knees and quads, hips are going to be able to take a lot more load. So that tends to be the best variation for shifting heavy weight. If I'm wanting to grow my quads, then I'm generally going to be using a heel elevated squat variation, where I focus on a lot of forward knee drive. Again, you can use front squats for building quads because that front squat gives you a nice upright position. But we look at the drawbacks. Front squat, the limit is how much you can load in that front rack position. So I tend to find that if you don't really need front squat for anything specific that you're doing, or if you're not using it for anything related to upper body control, then rather actually go for a heel elevated, because you're going to be able to load more weight just having the bar rest on the spine and have those elevated heels, a nice good forward knee drive, and that'll serve you better than the limitations that front squats. Front squats I only really suggest to people that are in that realm where they enjoy Olympic lifts, or maybe yes, sometimes as well for someone that is battling to maintain torso position and rigidity throughout the back squat. You find that front squats again are a fantastic use because it has a really good challenge on the erectors. And if I'm looking for hypertrophy, then let's say two of my favorite squat patterns for hypertrophy. One would be a hack squat, again pretty similar to a regular squat, but the nice thing is with the way the hack squat is loaded with the machine, not as demanding on the spine. So for the most part, the legs tend to be the failing point. Because again, back squat, the downside is most of the time if you're taking squats to failure, it's not so much just your legs that are failing. It's the system as a whole that is failing. And then you have to ask yourself the question, if I'm trying to take a specific muscle group to failure, say I'm trying to grow my quads, my abs, my glutes, and I can't bring them to failure because my system as a whole is failing, is it the best option? So will it grow mass? Of course, overload is overload. Yes. But is it the most effective way to do it? Not always. And with hypertrophy, we want to, again, intensity and proximity to failure is the most important thing when it comes to stimulating growth, but total volume matters as well when it comes to hypertrophy. So we ask the question, the time it takes to recover from squats, from a barbell back squat, does that allow me to push as many sets or as many reps or as much frequency throughout the week? Probably not. So again, hack squat or leg press. Leg press, fantastic tool of really taking the spine out of the equation and just getting the legs, quads, hamstrings. You can play around. You want a little bit more quad focus, feet lower down, a little bit more knee drive. You want to focus more on your glutes and your hamstrings, feet higher up, allowing more bend at the knee, at the hip. So when it comes to your squat patterns, think about knee angle and hip angle. If you want to develop your quads, try focus on having a movement where there's a greater knee angle. And if you're trying to develop your glutes and your hamstrings, try focus where there's a bit more of a hip angle. And then if you're trying to load the most amount of weight possible, again, that hip structure, really strong. Your best bet is going for a movement that we shift those hips back, load them. There are exceptions to the rule, where some people just from, they're a lot more comfortable doing it. Say high bar versus low bar in the powerlifting side, most powerlifters will do low bar because that, again, sort of puts you where you're positioned that you're favoring the hips.
Correct.
Then you get a guy like John Hack who just steps up to the bar. It's the highest of high bar placements and smashes world records at a high bar squat. And I think, again, that comes down to personal preference and specificity. If someone has been doing a variation of squat for a really long time and they're well developed in it, could they have the potential to move more on a more hip dominant? Yes. Are they going to be moving more straight away?
No.
Probably not, because they've been squatting high bar for 10, 15
Correct.
years and excel at it. You could over time transition them to get there just for the structural benefit, but then you also have to ask, well, is it worth all the time you're spending not pushing maximal weight in order just to get that, or you just keep working with what works?
Sometimes you've got to leave an outlier like where they are.
100% outlier. Again, the exception is not the rule.
Yes.
So the rule of thumb is the hip will be able to be loaded more. Not always the case, because some people just have the specificity needed to excel in a variation that wouldn't normally be as effective as it is.
And on that ground, let's just quickly take it back to the heel elevation, because we see a lot of people in the gym battle to squat where their heels come off the floor. And having a bit of a elevated heel will actually make you feel a lot more stable in your squat.
100%. I always say, like, if you're battling with the heel lifting thing, you've got to kind of have a look at that. Why? Well, we tighten the hips, we tighten in the ankles. Like for me, I've got next to no ankle mobility. And then look at some of the cues you can do of toeing out slightly, because again, we want to open up the hips. And if that's still a problem, then throw some damn plates under your heels. I think too many people get caught up on, you got to squat this way. The important thing is that you're actually squatting, and you're squatting with load. And so if you have to make some individual adjustments in order to be able to produce a good quality squat, then do so. I mean, if you're not competing in a specific sport that requires that you're going to have to do that movement without the assistance,
then
grab a set of little plates, throw them under. That'll really help out with just that little elevation. Allows that you can work around something like ankle mobility. Great stuff. And then you A for a weight.
And you'll feel more comfortable, and then when you feel more comfortable, you actually feel more willing to do things.
Definitely.
Because one of the reasons why people don't try and squat is because they're like, oh, I'm uncomfortable, oh, I'm scared. Well, take out the uncomfortability and squat.
Yeah, 100%. I think definitely. And then if you're really, really scared about moving heavy weight on squats, then you can always do something. Even you place a couple of exercises, some leg exercises before going into squats, so you can pre-fatigue your legs. Go into squats, and you can squat with a weight that is physically demanding for your legs, because they've already gone through a little bit of load before. And then at least from a point of view of, the amount of load on the bar isn't as scary. Look, downside is you'll still be pretty fatigued, and the risk of fail. But sometimes, failing with 60 on a bar and failing with 100 on a bar, bit of a difference. So, I mean, if there's just that little mental hurdle you need, do some exercises before, squats at the end of your program. Optimal and ideal are two different things, The question is, what's going to get you to actually do the squat the most and the best, and go from there.
Yeah, remember, if you're not training for a specific purpose, like for weightlifting or powerlifting, where you put your squats in your programming at the moment isn't as important as you just getting your squats done.
100%. And again, use the list of variations. Front squat, Xerxes squat,
Goblet
overhead
squats.
squats, even goblet squats. You can find different purposes for different squats in your training. Just have to make sure you're asking the right questions of what is the purpose of me doing this exercise? Is it for strength? Is it for hypertrophy? Is it for endurance? Is it just because you want a
good booty?
A good booty, 100%. Do you just want to be able to get off the floor, up and down from the floor comfortably? Then you can choose what is needed. And then when you get into, if you on the powerlifting side, you get more specific. Then we go, okay, cool. What are the technical reasons that you failed a certain squat? And then we go from there. Okay, cool. Do we have a little bit of movement planning to do, and a little movement learning to do, where we can use things like pause squats or tempo squats? Tempo squats, great way to slow your movement down and really get a feel and focus of how you need to be moving at the hips and at the knees to keep that bar placement nice and steady. Using pause squats is a great way of getting rid of the and get rid of that stretch, shorten mechanical advantage you have, so just in terms of get rid of that advantage with the little 2-second pause, and have to essentially grind your way up out of the top. And even from a control point of view, that you're not bouncing up